The Fear Broker. Alex Mercer's first memory was of fear, not his own, but his mother's. He was 3 years old, watching her tremble as she argued with his father. The air seemed to shimmer around her, and young Alex felt a strange tingle in his mind. He didn't understand it then, but he had sensed her terror as clearly as if it were a visible aura. As Alex grew, so did his awareness of others' fears. By age 7, he could pick up on the anxieties of his classmates, sensing their insecurities and phobias like whispers in the wind. It was overwhelming at first, a constant barrage of other people's nightmares threatening to drown him. But then came the day Tommy Hawkins cornered him on the playground. As the bully's fist drew back, Alex felt something shift inside him. He didn't just sense Tommy's fear of dogs. He reached out and twisted it, amplifying it until Tommy's eyes went wide with terror. "Get away from me!" Tommy screamed, swatting at imaginary canines. "The dogs! They're everywhere!" Alex watched in fascination as his tormentor fled, and a realization dawned. He wasn't a victim of this strange power. He was its master. Through his teenage years, Alex honed his abilities in secret. He learned to not just sense fears, but to manipulate them with surgical precision. A whispered word here, a gentle psychic nudge there, and he could reduce the school's star quarterback to a quivering mess before the big game. He could make the strictest teacher paranoid about losing their job, ensuring easy A's for himself. By the time Alex entered college, his conscience had already begun to wither. He saw his fellow students not as people, but as subjects for his twisted experiments. How far could he push someone's arachnophobia before they had a full-blown panic attack in the middle of class? Could he amplify someone's fear of failure enough to make them drop out entirely? The rush of power was intoxicating, and Alex craved more. After graduation, he set up a life coaching practice as a front for his true operations. His office, located in a sleek high-rise, was designed to put clients at ease, all the better to access their deepest fears. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs and calming artwork adorned the space, a stark contrast to the psychic horrors that unfolded within its walls. Alex's reputation grew quickly in certain circles. Politicians came to him to destroy their rivals' confidence before crucial debates. CEOs sought his services to intimidate competitors into backing down from hostile takeovers. Criminals hired him to ensure witnesses were too terrified to testify. One autumn evening, as the sun set over the city skyline, Alex sat across from his latest client. Richard Holbrook, a hedge fund manager with a weak chin and nervous eyes, fidgeted in the plush leather chair. "I've heard you can solve problems," Holbrook said, his voice barely above a whisper. Alex leaned back, steepling his fingers. "That depends on the problem, Mr. Holbrook. Why don't you tell me what's troubling you?" Holbrook swallowed hard. "There's a whistleblower at my firm. She's threatening to go public with some irregularities in our accounting. I need her silenced." A slow smile spread across Alex's face. This was what he lived for now, the thrill of breaking someone's mind, of reshaping their reality into a waking nightmare. "Say no more, Mr. Holbrook. I'll ensure she's too terrified to utter a single word about your irregularities." Over the next week, Alex worked his dark magic on the whistleblower, a woman named Sarah Chen. He started subtly, planting seeds of paranoia in her subconscious. Sarah began to feel watched constantly, jumping at shadows and waking up in cold sweats from nightmares she couldn't quite remember. Then Alex escalated. Using personal information Holbrook had provided, he crafted personalized terrors for Sarah. Her childhood fear of abandonment bloomed anew, leaving her sobbing and clinging to her bewildered husband. Her anxiety about her professional competence skyrocketed until she could barely function at work, second-guessing her every decision. By the end of the week, Sarah Chen was a shell of her former self. She sat in her darkened apartment, blinds drawn, jumping at every creak and groan of the building. The documents detailing Holbrook's fraud lay forgotten in a drawer. Sarah, too, paralyzed by fear to even think about exposing the truth. As Alex's power and influence grew, so did his appetite for terror. He began taking on more dangerous clients, pushing the boundaries of his abilities. He no longer cared about maintaining his cover or the lives he was destroying. The fear was all that mattered, a drug more potent than any chemical high. He started experiments, seeing how far he could push his victims before they broke completely. Could he drive someone to suicide using only their existing fears? Could he reshape a person's entire personality by manipulating their anxieties? The results were as fascinating as they were horrifying. Then came the night that changed everything. As Alex sat in his office basking in the afterglow of his latest success, his assistant buzzed the intercom. "Mr. Mercer, there's a Dr. Elena Vance here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she insists it's urgent." Alex frowned. He didn't recall any Dr. Vance on his client list. "Send her in," he said, curiosity piqued. The woman who entered was striking, tall, with sharp features and piercing green eyes that seemed to look right through him. But what caught Alex's attention was the complete absence of fear surrounding her. It was as if she existed in a bubble, impervious to the tendrils of terror that Alex could usually sense in everyone. "Good evening, Mr. Mercer," she said, taking a seat without invitation. "Or should I say, the fear broker." For the first time in years, Alex felt a flicker of unease. He reached out with his power, probing Elena's mind, searching for fears to exploit. But he encountered only a blank wall, an emptiness that was somehow more terrifying than any fear he'd ever encountered. Elena smiled coldly. "Your tricks won't work on me, Alex. I'm here to put an end to your reign of terror." Rage boiled within Alex. How dare she threaten him? He lashed out with his full power, unleashing a tidal wave of terror that would have driven most people insane. The very air in the office seemed to darken, shadows writhing on the walls as the temperature plummeted. The sound of distant screaming echoed from nowhere. But Elena stood unmoved, her gaze steady and filled with determination. "Oh, Alex," she said softly, "you have no idea what you're dealing with." In that moment, Alex's carefully constructed world shattered. He fled his office, his mind reeling from the encounter. For days, he roamed the city, paranoia growing with each passing hour. Who was Elena Vance? How could she resist his power? And more importantly, what was she? As his fear grew, so did his recklessness. Alex lashed out indiscriminately, using his ability on anyone who crossed his path. A barista who got his order wrong found herself reliving her worst childhood traumas. A taxi driver who cut him off in traffic was reduced to a gibbering mess, convinced that every passenger was out to kill him. The effects spread like a psychic contagion. Nightmares spilled into reality as people's deepest fears manifested in broad daylight. A businessman on his way to an important meeting suddenly found the sidewalk beneath him, turning to writhing snakes. A mother pushing a stroller heard her baby's cries turn into the growls of a monstrous beast. The city descended into chaos, a playground of terror with Alex at its center. Emergency services were overwhelmed as people succumbed to panic attacks, psychotic breaks, and fear-induced heart attacks. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp under the weight of so much concentrated horror. Through it all, Alex could sense Elena pursuing him. She was always one step behind, a relentless hunter driving him further into madness. He pushed his powers to their limits, caring nothing for the devastation he left in his wake. Hospitals filled with catatonic patients, their minds shattered by fears made manifest. Streets emptied as people barricaded themselves in their homes, afraid of what horrors might await them outside. The final confrontation came in an abandoned asylum on the outskirts of the city. Its decaying walls and rusted gates seemed to resonate with the echoes of past torments, the perfect arena for this ultimate battle of wills. Alex stood in the overgrown courtyard, surrounded by writhing shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. The skeletal trees creaked and groaned, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. In the distance, he could hear the wails and whimpers of those whose minds he had shattered, drawn to this nexus of fear like moths to a flame. Elena approached, her face grim with determination. She walked through Alex's phantasmagoria of terror as if it were no more threatening than a light fog. "It's over, Alex," she said, her voice carrying clearly despite the cacophony of fear around them. "You've become the very thing people fear most." Alex laughed, a chilling sound devoid of humanity. His eyes, once a warm brown, now swirled with inky darkness. Veins of black pulsed beneath his skin, as if his body could barely contain the malevolent power within. "No, Elena," he said, his voice resonating with inhuman harmonics. "I've become fear itself, and now I'll show you true terror." With a gesture, he unleashed the full extent of his power. Reality warped around them, the asylum walls melting away to reveal a nightmarish landscape. The sky turned a sickly green, roiling with storm clouds that rained drops of blood. The ground beneath their feet pulsed like a living thing, occasionally splitting open to reveal abyssal chasms filled with writhing tentacles. Shadows took on a life of their own, reaching out with grasping tendrils to caress Eleanor's skin. The air filled with screams and whispers, a cacophony of terror that threatened to overwhelm the senses. Monstrous shapes lurked just at the edge of vision, hinting at horrors too great for the human mind to comprehend. For the first time, Alex saw Elena's composure crack. Her eyes widened as the full force of his power crashed against her mental defenses. Beads of sweat formed on her brow as she fought against the tide of insanity threatening to sweep her away. "Now you understand," Alex snarled, advancing on her. His form seemed to shift and warp, sometimes appearing as a man, sometimes as a writhing mass of shadows and teeth. "This is true power. This is what I was meant to become." Elena fell to her knees, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Alex could sense her fear now, pure, primal, and intoxicating. He reached out, not just with his mind but with twisted appendages of shadow, and began to drink in her terror. As Elena's mind shattered under the onslaught, Alex felt a surge of energy unlike anything he had experienced before. He absorbed her power, her very essence, becoming something beyond human. The last vestiges of his humanity burned away, replaced by an elemental force of pure terror. The fear broker was gone. In his place stood a dark god of terror, ready to plunge the world into never-ending nightmare. Alex rose into the air, his form a swirling vortex of darkness shot through with veins of sickly green light. He threw his arms wide, and the asylum grounds expanded, growing to encompass the entire city, then the country, then the world. Shadows spread across the sky, blotting out the sun. The air grew thick with the taste of fear as reality itself bent to Alex's will. Everywhere, people fell to their knees, overwhelmed by visions of their deepest, darkest terrors made real. Children woke screaming to find the monsters under their beds, crawling towards them with slavering jaws. Agoraphobes found the walls of their homes dissolving, leaving them exposed in endless, vertigo-inducing spaces. Those afraid of death felt their bodies begin to rot and decay while they still lived. Alex Mercer, once a man who could manipulate fear, had become fear incarnate. As he surveyed his new domain, a world trembling in perpetual terror, he smiled. The age of fear had begun, and he would reign supreme for eternity. In the distance, sirens wailed and people screamed. But above it all, echoing across the twisted landscape of this new reality, came the sound of Alex's laughter, the harbinger of a new, dark era for humanity. The world had become a living nightmare, and Alex Mercer was its dark and terrible god.